Did you know there's this market, one you probably don't think about every day,
Yeah.
that's set to basically double, maybe even more than double, in what, just over 10 years?
Yeah, it's pretty surprising. We're talking climbing to over $16 billion a year.
And it's not the latest tech, right? It's not crypto, not some fancy new drug for a niche disease.
Nope, none of those.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we are jumping headfirst into something, well, frankly vital, and it's seeing absolutely explosive growth: the global flu vaccine market. Think of this as your fast track to really getting a handle on a key part of preventative healthcare. It's expanding fast, and the insights, they really show a big shift happening in public health globally.
And just so you know where we're getting this from, our insights today are pulled straight from a detailed market forecast by Cognitive Market Research.
Right.
And our goal, like always, is to pull out the really important stuff, the surprising bits, so you come away genuinely informed.
Okay, let's start with the big picture then. This market isn't just significant, it's huge. Back in 2021, what was the global value? Almost $6.8 billion. So
Almost $6.8 billion, exactly. And honestly, that's just the baseline we're talking about.
just start.
The projections from there are, well, they're really quite remarkable. It's expected to hit over $9 billion by 2025.
Okay.
And then, get this, a massive $16.2 billion by 2033.
Wow.
What really stands out is the consistency. That compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, it's around 7.6% year over year. So, this isn't some fluke. It's showing steady, really robust growth.
Okay, 7.6% annually. Let's unpack that a bit.
Right.
What's actually driving this? Flu vaccines, they've been around for ages. Why this consistent climb now?
Well, if you look at the core reasons highlighted in the research, it seems to boil down to a kind of collective move towards being proactive with health rather than just reactive.
Okay.
We're seeing more vaccination programs rolling out worldwide. There's definitely a heightened global awareness about preventative health in general.
Right, people are thinking about it more?
Exactly. And governments and health organizations are pushing ongoing public health initiatives. It feels like a global mindset shift, really.
That makes sense. Now, you mentioned regions, and this is where it gets, I think, really interesting. North America. It seems to just dominate this market.
It really does, yeah.
The number shows over $1.7 billion back in 2021. And that's projected to shoot up to, what, $4.2 billion by 2033? With a growth rate, an annual rate, of almost 8%. That's a huge slice of the global market.
It is a massive slice. And within North America, it's fair to say that the United States is really the powerhouse driving a lot of that.
Okay.
The U.S. market value is set to more than double. We're talking from about $1.36 billion up to over $3.4 billion by 2033. And yeah, that growth rate is strong too, nearly 8% annually on average.
Wow.
But, it's not just the U.S. Canada's market is also set to more than double,
Right.
growing from around 187 million to over 466 million. And Mexico, too, it's on a really strong upward curve, climbing from roughly 157 million up to over 392 million. So it really points to a pretty robust continent-wide focus on flu prevention.
Okay, that North American picture is definitely clear. So let's shift focus. What about Europe? It's another huge player, obviously, but maybe the story's a bit different there.
Europe's also a very significant market, no doubt. It was valued around $1.77 billion back in 2021.
Okay, similar starting point to North America, roughly.
Pretty close, yeah. And it's projected to climb to nearly $4.4 billion by 2033. The average annual growth rate there is about 7.8%.
Also very strong.
Very strong. But what's interesting in Europe is you see a bit more variation in momentum between countries. Spain, for example, is really kind of leading the charge. It's got an impressive 8.4% average annual growth rate.
8.4, wow.
Which might suggest, particularly effective public health campaigns there, or maybe just a stronger cultural embrace of preventative stuff.
Interesting.
Italy's also showing really robust growth, over 8.1% annually. And then you've got countries like Sweden and Denmark also showing similarly strong growth rates, around that 8% mark, too.
Okay, so some real hotspots for growth there.
Definitely. And of course, other key markets like the UK, Germany, France, even Russia, they're all contributing significantly too. Their annual growth rates are generally hovering between, say, 7.3% and 7.7%. Still very healthy growth.
Right. Solid growth across the board, but with some standouts. Okay, let's move further east then. Asia-Pacific, how does that region look? The report mentioned a slightly different growth profile.
That's right. Yeah, the Asia-Pacific region started at about 1.06 billion in 2021,
Okay.
and it's projected to grow to over 2.4 billion by 2033. Now, the average annual growth rate is around 7.2%.
So still strong expansion, but a touch lower than North America or Europe.
Exactly. Bit lower overall CAGR. And within the region, you see some interesting dynamics. China, for instance, it's a huge market by volume, projected to more than double in size to over $530 million.
Right.
But its average annual growth rate is actually comparatively lower, about 6.7%.
Interesting. Slower pace despite the size.
Yeah. Japan, on the other hand, shows more vigorous growth, actually over 7.5% annually. It's projected to go from around 173 million up to over 413 million.
Okay.
And India is also expanding steadily at nearly 7% annually. So it kind of suggests that, while the overall market size is obviously important, the actual pace of adoption can really vary based on local factors, policies, infrastructure, that kind of thing.
That makes sense. Now, it feels like the growth isn't just in these, let's call them traditional economic powerhouses.
Yeah.
The report seems to indicate momentum elsewhere, too. Let's look at some of those other regions. Is this preventative health trend truly global?
Oh, absolutely. It seems to be. Let's take South America. The total market there is projected to more than double,
Okay.
growing from around $367 million to over $827 million. The average annual growth rate is about 7.1%, 7.2%.
Right.
And within South America, Brazil really stands out as a regional leader. It's driving a lot of that momentum with its own growth rate, averaging about 7.4% annually.
Got it. Brazil leading the way there. What about the Middle East?
The Middle East is also seeing pretty strong expansion. Its total market is forecast to grow from about 141 million to over 336 million. That's an annual growth rate of roughly 7.5%.
Hmm.
And interestingly, both Saudi Arabia and Turkey are expanding quite robustly, sharing the same average annual growth rate of about 7.6%.
Great.
And Qatar is actually showing an even slightly higher pace, nearly 7.7% annually.
So strong growth across that region, too. And finally, Africa. How does that fit into the picture?
Africa is presented as a truly significant market, actually. It posted over 1.7 billion in value back in 2021.
Oh, wow. Okay. Substantial.
Yeah, quite substantial. And it's expected to reach almost $4 billion by 2033. That's with an average annual growth rate of about 7.4%.
Okay.
Nigeria seems to be leading the charge there with roughly 7.4% annual growth. And South Africa is also showing strong expansion, average annual growth around 7.6%.
So really, it's quite widespread growth then.
It really is. And, as we've kind of walked through all these different regions, it's striking how those core drivers we talked about at the start just keep popping up.
Right. The vaccination program.
Exactly. Increased vaccination programs,
Right.
that greater awareness of preventative health, the ongoing public health initiatives, they seem to be the consistent underlying forces pretty much everywhere. It really does underline that idea of a unified global shift towards prevention.
So if we were to sum it all up, the big theme from this deep dive seems pretty clear. This global flu vaccine market, it's not just ticking along, it's undergoing this really robust, widespread, sustained expansion.
Sustained is a good word for it.
And it's all being fueled by this fundamental shift globally towards thinking about preventative healthcare first. It's quite a statement about how our approach to health is changing, isn't it?
It really is.
So thinking about all this, what does it actually mean for you, our listener? Maybe it just offers a new way to look at how global health trends are unfolding right now.
Yeah, or perhaps it gives some insight into where future investments or public health efforts might be focused.
Exactly.
And, it does raise a pretty important question to think about. As we see this surge in global investment, specifically for flu vaccines, well, how might that ripple out? How could it affect our approach to other kinds of preventative health measures?
That's a good point.
And maybe what does this whole trend suggest about the future shape of our global public health infrastructure overall? Something to mull over.